Welcome to Golden Years Wisdom. Today, I want to share a story that might surprise you and, perhaps, make you rethink what you keep inside your refrigerator. A 72-year-old woman named Mrs. Riska lived a lifestyle many of us would admire. She ate healthy foods, exercised regularly, and avoided harmful habits. Yet, one night, she almost ended up in the emergency room, not because of junk food or sugary drinks, but because of what was quietly happening inside her own refrigerator. Many of us believe the fridge is the safest place to store food. But the truth is, there are everyday items, foods we think are good for us, that can actually turn toxic when kept too cold. In fact, there are 8 common foods that can shift from being beneficial to becoming harmful simply because of how they're stored. Consider cassava tape, a traditional fermented food. When eaten fresh and kept at room temperature, it can be healthy. But once placed in the refrigerator, its fermentation process is disrupted. Instead of providing good bacteria, it fosters the growth of harmful ones. Alcohol content increases, enzymes break down, and what was once beneficial becomes a burden on digestion. Red onions are another example. Naturally, they contain essential oils that act as antioxidants and antibacterial agents. But in the fridge, they absorb moisture, turn soft, and develop mold. That mold can produce dangerous toxins capable of damaging the liver over time. What should have been a healing food slowly turns into a hidden poison. Even something as refreshing as watermelon can become a problem. A whole watermelon needs to ripen naturally at room temperature to develop its antioxidants like lycopene and beta-carotene. When stored in the fridge before it's fully ripe, this process stops. The flesh breaks down, becomes watery, and mold can appear, turning what we thought was a source of vitality into a digestive risk. Ground coffee, too, is often stored in the refrigerator, but this is a mistake. Coffee is highly hygroscopic, meaning it absorbs moisture and odors easily. Inside the fridge, it picks up the smells of other foods, loses its natural aroma, and, worse, can grow fine mold. For aging digestive systems, this invisible contamination can be harmful. These are only the first few examples: cassava tape, red onions, watermelon, and ground coffee. Each of them, when stored incorrectly, can slowly damage health instead of supporting it. And Mrs. Riska? She unknowingly kept all of them in her refrigerator, thinking it was the best way to preserve freshness. Yet it was precisely this habit that almost cost her health. The good news is, when she finally stopped these storage mistakes, her body began to recover naturally, without expensive medicine, simply through better awareness of how food should be kept. Let us now continue with the remaining 4 foods that often turn from friends into hidden enemies when stored in the refrigerator. The first is olive oil. Often praised as liquid gold, olive oil is valued for its heart-protective fats and antioxidant compounds. Many older adults in Indonesia have started using it for healthier cooking. Yet here lies the problem: when stored in the refrigerator, olive oil solidifies, its structure changes, and its antioxidants begin to degrade. Worse, exposure to cold and oxidation can generate free radicals, which trigger inflammation and increase strain on the heart. To protect its benefits, olive oil should be kept in a dark glass bottle, at a cool but not refrigerated temperature. Next is basil leaves. Many people place fresh basil in the fridge, hoping to keep it longer. But basil is highly sensitive to the cold. In low temperatures, the leaves quickly turn black and wilt, while their essential oils, responsible for both aroma and digestive health benefits, disappear. What remains is limp fiber with no therapeutic value, sometimes even contaminated with bacteria. The correct way is simple: treat basil like fresh flowers. Place the stems in a glass with a little water at room temperature, away from direct sunlight. This keeps both the flavor and health properties intact. Then comes dark chocolate. Known as a superfood, it contains flavonoids that support circulation and brain function. However, in the refrigerator, the fats in chocolate can separate and form a whitish layer on the surface called fat bloom. At the same time, the humidity of the fridge encourages mold growth, especially if the packaging isn't airtight. For seniors, this is not only unappetizing but potentially harmful to digestion. Dark chocolate should always be stored in a cool, dry place, sealed tightly, away from direct heat but never in the fridge. Finally, potatoes, a staple in many households. When potatoes are stored at low temperatures, their starch turns into sugar. Later, when these potatoes are fried or baked at high heat, the sugar reacts and forms acrylamide, a chemical compound linked to an increased risk of cancer. What we consider a basic, harmless food can turn into one of the most dangerous when stored incorrectly. The safest way is to keep potatoes in a dry, dark cupboard at room temperature, not in the refrigerator. When you look at all 8 foods together, cassava tape, red onions, watermelon, ground coffee, olive oil, basil leaves, dark chocolate, and potatoes, the message becomes clear. It isn't only about what we eat, but also about how we store it. A simple habit in the kitchen can decide whether food nourishes us or slowly harms us. For seniors, whose bodies are more sensitive and less resilient, these small details matter greatly. By understanding the science of storage, we can turn our kitchens back into places of healing, rather than silent threats. So, the next time you open your refrigerator, take a moment to think, is what's inside helping your health, or quietly working against it? Many people don't realize that something as simple as storing food the wrong way can quietly harm their health. Take potatoes, for example. When stored in the refrigerator and later fried, they can form acrylamide, a compound linked to cancer. This is especially dangerous for older adults, whose bodies struggle more to detoxify such chemicals. Potatoes should instead be kept in a dark, ventilated space, like a rattan basket or mesh bag, not inside the fridge. And it's not just potatoes. There are 10 everyday foods that many people unknowingly store incorrectly: fermented cassava, shallots, whole watermelon, coffee grounds, basil leaves, olive oil, dark chocolate, and potatoes among them. These are all healthy foods, but they can turn into hidden threats if kept in the wrong environment. The truth is, many seniors maintain a healthy diet yet still fall ill. Often the missing link is not the food itself, but how it is stored. Small changes, like keeping shallots in a dry place or letting watermelon ripen at room temperature, can dramatically improve well-being. There was once a woman named Riska, a 72-year-old who constantly suffered from indigestion, poor sleep, and fatigue. Doctors found no major illness. But when she was asked to show the contents of her refrigerator, almost everything was stored inside: cassava, potatoes, chocolate, even spices. She was advised to stop refrigerating these items and instead store them properly at room temperature in dry, dark, or ventilated spaces. The results were remarkable. By the end of the first week, her digestion improved. In the second week, her energy returned, and she began joining community exercise. By the third week, her face looked fresher, her laughter louder, her spirit brighter. She realized that it wasn't her age making her weak, but her kitchen habits. Inspired, she shared her experience with neighbors, and soon an entire community began to change the way they stored food. This shows how a single small step can grow into a movement, one refrigerator, one family, one neighborhood at a time. And it can start today, in your own kitchen. Open your fridge and ask yourself, is the real problem your age, or could it be your refrigerator shelves? Why do so many people believe all food must go into the fridge? For decades, refrigeration was seen as a symbol of safety and modernity. Without proper education, people assumed everything belongs there. But the reality is very different. Coffee loses its aroma and may even mold in the humid fridge environment. Whole watermelon spoils its natural ripening process in the cold. And basil, if kept in water like fresh flowers at room temperature, lasts longer than in the fridge. Year after year, these mistakes quietly burden the body. For seniors, whose systems already work harder, the impact is serious: constant fatigue, digestive problems, joint pain, and poor sleep. Families often dismiss these symptoms as just aging, when in fact they may be caused by something as simple as food storage. The body is like a machine that has been running for decades. A steady drip of toxins from poor food storage eventually wears it down. But when those small toxic burdens are removed, the body begins to recover. Digestion improves, sleep becomes deeper, energy returns, and even the skin regains a healthier glow. So, what's the solution? A simple checklist. 1. Fermented cassava. Store at room temperature. Consume within a day or two. 2. Shallots. Keep in a dry, dark, ventilated space. Not plastic, not the fridge. 3. Whole watermelon. Let it ripen outside. Refrigerate only once cut. 4. Coffee grounds. Store in an airtight glass jar, away from moisture. 5. Basil. Treat it like flowers, stems in water, change water daily. 6. Olive oil. Dark glass bottles, cool cupboard, never the fridge. 7. Dark chocolate. Cool, dry place in a sealed container. 8. Potatoes. Ventilated basket or mesh bag, always outside the fridge. These are not complicated rules. They are small adjustments that can prevent big health problems. And they cost nothing. Many people worry they cannot afford expensive supplements or organic foods. Yet real health often lies not in money, but in knowledge. Properly storing onions may be more valuable than taking the wrong vitamins. A well-organized kitchen can serve as a pharmacy of healing, or a hidden source of poison, depending on how food is kept. Stories like Mrs. Riska's prove that even long-standing problems can be reversed. Her journey is a reminder that change doesn't have to start in hospitals or with costly medicine. It starts in the kitchen, with daily awareness. So take this as a personal invitation: go to your kitchen today. Open your fridge. Check your baskets, jars, and shelves. Ask yourself, are you protecting your body, or slowly harming it without realizing? Remember, old age itself is not the enemy. The true enemy may be silent habits that quietly rob us of health. Don't wait until illness forces you to change. Prevention is easier, cheaper, and far more powerful than treatment. If you want your later years to be filled with laughter, independence, and peace of mind, not weakness or dependency, begin with one simple action. Rethink how you store your food. Let's make our kitchens a place of healing, not a storage ground for hidden toxins. Let's live with awareness, eat with wisdom, and care for our bodies with small, consistent choices. Longevity without quality is meaningless. But a life filled with vitality and purpose, that is something worth striving for. So, before we close, here's the main message: your health in old age is not determined only by hospitals, doctors, or expensive supplements. It begins in your own kitchen, with the simple decision of where you place your food. Aging is inevitable. But suffering does not have to be. The quality of your later years will depend on the wisdom of your daily choices, today, right now. If you found this helpful, take action today. Check your fridge, share this knowledge with family and friends, and join us in spreading health awareness for seniors. This is Golden Years Wisdom, reminding you that true health starts not with age, but with knowledge and mindful living.